Sometimes it's ready, fire, aim.
Yes. Yep.
Sometimes it's ready, fire, aim. And I think that, I think a lot of chiropractors are entrepreneurs at heart. And that's how we learn. You just start going, is move forward, like always be moving forward. And you'll find where you fail and get coaching, get mentorship, get help, learn from mistakes, and then just keep moving forward.
Welcome to the Table Talk podcast, where we get real, meeting with industry professionals and experts in the chiropractic world, talking about the newest and latest, how to scale your practice, the struggles that we all face in practice, and how you can take your practice to the next level. All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Guys, I'm super excited to have Dr. Caleb Braddock on with me today with Genesis Neck and Back. Dr. Caleb, welcome to the call. I am super excited to have you on. We had a great conversation at the Remarkable Practice podcast or last conference, and I reached out to you right afterwards, like, man, we got to get on a call and talk about what you guys are doing. So thank you for coming on.
Man, I'm pumped to be here. Super excited.
Yeah. So Doc, for those that are out there listening to this that don't know who you guys are, don't know your guys' backstory, do you want to just kind of walk us through, like, number one, your genesis into chiropractic, and then, your genesis into Genesis, if you
Sure,
if you don't mind.
Yeah. So when we were in Phoenix the other day, that Saturday was my 20th year in practice. So I graduated Parker Chiropractic 20 years ago, opened up a chiropractic practice in a small town in North Texas, pretty rural, as it happens to be the town I'm from, and eat, sleep, and breathe chiropractic, read the green books, follow all the greats and read their stuff. And so we've been having a ton of fun with chiropractic, and we see 400 or 500 patients a week in our office, and 21 hours open, just kind of a principled high volume practice. So loving it. And maybe 8 years ago, I finally started realizing it's like, man, the one person I have the most trouble truly getting better is a disc patient, a bulging disc, herniated disc. I felt like a boy fending off wolves with a switch. Like, you could do it for a little bit, but eventually, they were going to eat my patients. And so I was losing them to pain management, and then from pain management to surgery. And then being in a small town, you still see those people. Well, you're having Mexican food, and they're like, man, and more often than not, I heard, I wish I wouldn't have had the surgery. It's not been good since the surgery. So one of my great friends and classmates from chiropractic school, Chad Glines, when we graduated, I wanted to see 1,000 people a week. Chad did not want to do that. He just wanted to do spinal decompression, which I thought was sacrilegious at the time. But he had his own reasons. You could talk to him about his story behind that. But he did decompression at a really high level. And so, but he's about an hour and a half from me, all the way across the Metroplex. And so we decided to open up an office. We got together, we got to talking one night, and we took all the things that I know about marketing and systems and procedure and aesthetic. Now, all the things that he knows about the DRX 9000, about the protocol we use that he developed, and truly helping disc patients. And we married those things together, and we opened an office half in between his office and my office. So I'm going down there 6 or 8 hours a week. He's going down there 6 or 8 hours a week. And all of a sudden I look up, and it's like, this office is starting to do what my baby, my $1 million chiropractic practice that took so long to build, with a lot less effort, a lot more freedom. And it's congruent with my chiropractic principles, which is very important to me. And I'm being able to utilize the skill set that I've developed over the years as a communicator to sell a product that I don't have to bend over the table to deliver. And it's really cool. And we had no intentions. It wasn't like we sat around and we're like, oh, we have this worldwide plan. But it worked really well. And so we opened another office. And one night we were having some drinks with a friend of mine who we also went to chiropractic school, has an incredible office. And he's like, hey, why don't we put a Genesis Back and Neck location inside of my chiropractic office? And where I was like, that's a terrible idea. And we had 2 or 3 more beers, and I was like, I think this could work. And so anyway, we did it. Long story short, it worked incredible, very profitable, very quick. And then that friend told a friend, told a friend, told a friend. And now we've got around 86 offices in 26 states. And so we're doing fun stuff. We're partnering with our partners. We can talk more about that later, but it's not a franchise, or we're not a coaching company or consultants. But we're getting into business with these people, and we're helping them help an entire another segment of the population that we couldn't otherwise help. It's been a lot of fun, I guess you could say.
And I think that that's one of the things that I've found that's so unique about what you guys are doing is that it's not the things that you just said, right? It's not a franchise. It's not a coaching group where it truly is a partnership. And I think that that's something that you guys are doing that is very different than what everybody else is doing right now.
Yeah, we always say that, we don't make money unless you make money. And so the only way that a Genesis office works really well, one, the patient's got to win. That's the most important. And then two, the doctor wins. And if the patient and the doctor wins, then Genesis wins. And so we feel like nobody, if any of those three segments win, then everybody should win. And luckily, the way that we have everything set up, the system that we're using, we're in this thing together. And so we've got offices setting records each month. We have offices they're struggling through one of the core fours that we analyze, and then so we have an entire team. The whole thing is like, let's get everybody together so we all win together.
What does that process look like? So somebody finds you guys and they're, hey, you know what, I'm interested in doing this. I thought about bringing decompression into my practice. What is the steps, or what are the things that you are helping them with? Your core four, so to speak. What are the things that you're helping them to be able to accomplish?
Well, once we find the right doctor, and we're really take our time in the front end, we've turned down more doctors than we've taken on, just because we really feel like we need to have some aligned principles and integrity. They need to be in the right location, the right population. It can't be too close to one of our existing locations, all of those things. Once we've gone through that and we get into business together, we handle 100% of the marketing. We generate all of the patients and all the leads. We found out really quick, most people don't know what to do with those leads. They call once or they text once and they're like, it's bad leads. So now we have a team of 27 girls that are all here in the US that is a lead management team. And so the Genesis lead management team, they call, text, email, and book the leads to your schedule. So once we get there, we teach the doctor and the staff how to do our actual consult, how to make sure the patient is qualified and actually needs the care that they were offering them, and then how to determine what disc level to pull, how to look at the MRI, how to interpret that to a patient, and then how to follow throughout the protocol to truly get the patient the absolute best results possible. And so we call it a core four. And so at the top, and everybody can imagine a funnel, but core one is our cost per lead, or the how our marketing dollars are working. So we obviously want as many patients for as little dollars as possible, but we've got KPIs to know, your cost per lead is way out of the norm. And that's the beauty now with as biggest things have gotten, is we don't have a small sample size, but we have 86 different offices, so we can see when things are out of the norm. But everybody that comes into core one and is a lead, that's core one. The leads that actually book, that's core two. And so if we have a really low booking rate, well, that's on our lead management team. So we're going to be working and supporting that person that is that office's lead manager to get the booking up better. Once the booking's done, then we got the show rate. And so that's core three. So the number of leads we get, the ones that book, the ones that actually show. And so if we have a super low show rate that's falling outside of our KPIs, we know that's the front desk confirmations. So we're going to help the local boots on the ground person at the front desk that's in charge of doing confirmations. We'll do the confirmations with them. We'll do the confirmations so they can listen. They do the confirmations, we listen. And then it's like, okay, now we're good. And then from there, obviously, is the close rate. And that falls on the doctor. So we need to know, what our normal KPIs is for a close rate. And then if we have doctors struggling, we're listening to their consults, we're offering critique and advice about how to change it or what we would do in different situations. Then the goal is, we wish the funnel looked like a cylinder. That's perfect. But we're trying to keep the funnel a funnel as wide as possible at the bottom. And so we have a full dashboard, and the doctors have their own dashboards. We have it all in an app. So our mantra is, we want to smell smoke before we see flames. And so we're always trying to find out, hey, where's the chink in the armor that we could improve a couple of percent so everybody gets the best results possible.
And so it's funny that you kind of walk through all of those things, because these are some of the same statistics that me as a marketer, chiropractor turned marketer, I did the same thing in my practice, where I'd look at what my CPLs were. I'd look at all of the data points throughout, because my goal was always to remove emotion from decision-making in my practice. But we as chiropractors, I think that sometimes we are so missionally focused, passionate about what we do, that if numbers are down or whatever, it dictates our emotions, and our emotions dictates our decision making. And the data is what should be really driving the decisions that you're making. And I always say that the data is not the thing I mean, kind of to your point, smell smoke before the fire. The data isn't necessarily going to be definitive or completely if X, then Y, but it's going to point to the direction of where the problems are in the system.
Exactly. I mean, if you drive in your car, there's a handful of gauges on the dash. Well, you don't have a single gauge that tells you everything. You've got a gauge for tire pressure and a gauge for fuel, gauge for oil pressure. And so you just need to know, oh, hey, this gauge is low. How do we supplement this deficiency? Right. That's all we're looking for is where's the deficiencies and how do we supplement there? And the nature of business is we would love to say, okay, everything's good. We don't have to worry about this again. But we know that's not true. We know
Right.
that in a month or two, there's always going to be, it's like, hey, this started doing good. This one's down a little bit. You get this one up and now it's over here. And so it's this constant drive of being able to assess the numbers. The things that made me think of is Stephen Franson, who I love to death, talks about constantly being data driven. Don't follow your emotion. He said you trust your gut, but just don't lead with it. Lead with data. And then one of my best friends, Stephanie Blake, who's also a marketer, is always like, I hear you, I feel you, but let's look at the numbers. Like, let's actually look at the numbers because I've always been a feel guy. I'm like, I feel like should be better. I feel like we're not doing this or that. And then really over the last 5 or 6 years, I've become a numbers junkie, which is super weird. I'm not the guy that thinks in spreadsheets, but now we're looking at metrics and data and going, hey, I know it feels this way, but it actually says this is the issue. We fix that issue and it makes a huge difference. So we didn't fool around with emotion for too long.
And I think that this is, in the world that I live in, we have a lot of conversation. I have a lot of conversations with, I mean, we've worked with 1,000 clinics at this point, and the consistent revolving door that I see with people is that the marketing decisions that they make, it's like, if we're down, then we're just going to jump to this other company because it's like that company obviously doesn't understand what they're doing. And it's like marketing is a partnership. It is, in my opinion, once you have communication skills as far as how you communicate in office day one, day two, I mean, that's the core. Communicating what you do and having passion for what you do to be able to help people and having the heart and the mindset, like those are kind of givens. But like the biggest driver of your business is going to be your marketing and whether or not it is going to be successful or not. Because if you don't constantly have those new patients coming in, but it's the thing that people put almost the least amount of effort, time, and energy into. And it's just like so backwards at times.
Well, and what energy they put in, I think a lot of times is mistaken. It makes me think of, I'm older than you, but Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, right? So Looney Tunes. And so every episode, Wile E. Coyote's trying to catch a Roadrunner, and he comes up with this extravagant plan of how he's going to finally catch the Roadrunner. And then one thing happens at the last minute, the Roadrunner foils the plan. And then boom, the next scene, he's started with an entirely new extravagant plan. Like it's all different. And it's like, man, if he would have, the first time that one thing failed, if he would have tweaked it, by the end of the episode, the Roadrunner, he would have got it, right? But
Yeah.
he just abandons this giant extravagant plan to move right on to something entirely different, rather than like, hey, how did this work? How did it not work? And what tweaks could we make?
And that it's fun. So we track a few. I mean, I'm a numbers guy. I'm a data junkie. I've been a data junkie since day one. So it's always been kind of in my blood to be that way. But the thing that I track is one of the statistics that we track is how long our average client has been with us. And our average is over a year, which in the space that I'm in, most are like 90 days, right?
Yeah.
And so like when I go to conferences for marketers and they're like, I can't get patients, I can't get clients to stay more than 90 days. It's like, it's because we're not doing the things that we talk about in chiropractic, which is educating. And so that's something that we've started implementing here at Elevate is I'm going to teach you marketing. Like, I don't need you to be a marketer, but I'm going to teach you marketing so you understand what's going to be required to get the results, because we can put all of our best foots forward, but if the office is not lifting the weight as far as what they need to do, it's never going to be successful. And it's not because the marketing was bad, or it's not because of it. There's multiple, sort of, when you look at this data point, is it this or is it this? Let's dive into that part. Let's fix that part. Okay, now we fix that. Now we get to this next part. It's like, okay, it could be this or this. Now what do we fix?
Well, the maddening thing that has to be in your line of work is chiropractors they're holding the bucket like, hey, we need more patients in the bucket, and there's holes all in the bucket. Of chiropractors being able to convert cold traffic. So when you bring cold traffic in, let's face it, like from a chiropractic standpoint, we run an offer here, and I'll have guys say, well, you're just going to get a bunch of tire kickers for that sort of offer. And I'm like, if I would pay someone, like I may do an offer in the future where it's like, hey, I'm going to pay you $47 to show up because
Yes.
I'm so confident that if you come in our office and you feel the spirit that's in this office and you go through my day one and my day two and my day three, the time you're done, that same person that somebody had accused of being a tire kicker is like, I've got to get my wife and kids in here. My mother-in-law needs this. They're constantly thinking like, no one's ever, I've been to chiropractors my whole life. No one's ever told me this. And so it really comes down to, I think chiropractors are wasting a lot of money in marketing until you have some sort of a coach or mentorship or system to follow. And you feel really confident taking somebody that's there for a single pit stop. No one shows up going, hey, I'm looking to sign up for lifetime wellness chiropractic care. They come in and they're like, I have a pain here, and I'm praying that this one adjustment is a supernatural miracle, and then I never need to come back again. That's where the public is. And so you have to meet them where they're at, and then you have to lead them to where you really want them to be. It's like, hey, we can get you there. Here's the nature of what's actually going wrong with you. Here is what it looks like in black and white. Here's the plan that we can get you better. And no one, I don't say no one, but so many people fall short. As chiropractors, we fall short a lot. And it's like, man, just like Francis says, tell them the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and take it real serious. Don't just look for marketing dollars to just keep trying to fill up a bucket that the holes in the bottom are just too big.
And I know we talked about this that last weekend because I was always of the same opinion. Like, I cannot tell you how many chiropractors come in and they say, well, I don't want to do this as an offer. I don't want to do this as an offer. I don't want to do this as an offer. And I'm like, I would pay patients to come in my doors because I knew that our process and our system was so good. It didn't matter. It did not matter because I knew that I was going to get 8 out of 10 to start care because we had built systems around what we do and how we market it. But the problem is that a lot of practices, they build their systems around like a referral, which we all know is like, this is the problem, you're going to fix it. And because they already trust, their friend Bob, and Bob sent them here, they're going to sign up for care. They were going to sign up no matter what. And they, they get this sort of hyper-inflated ego about like, well, I close it, or people start care in my office at 90%. And it's like, well, when you're a referral-based practice, no duh. But when you start going out to the general public and then they're like, well, I had 20 people walk through my doors and 2 started care. It's like, well, we need to work on your day one. Oh no, it's because they're tire kickers. And I come back to the same thing every day. And I'm like, okay, let's hit pause. So that patient clicked on an ad, looked at their schedule, scheduled something on your calendar, drove 20 minutes to your office, sat in your reception area and filled out the intake forms, sat down, had a conversation with either your team or yourself, went through an exam, maybe took some x-rays, went home, came back for day 2, sat through a report of findings, told you no to care. And that is because the marketing, like,
it sounds like a tire kicker to me.
It doesn't sound like a tire kicker to me either. And I think that it's, and I understand because sometimes but I think that this boils down to the 2 things that I said that are foundational at the beginning, which is number 1, communication, because at the end of the day, sales is nothing but communication. And number 2, your mindset. And I think that this is one of the problems. And I know, and we've got some mutual clients that we work with. I know the sort of doctors that you work with. They're solid docs who truly, truly are passionate about what they do. They really want to help people. And that's the mindset that they come from. And so my mentality with practice was always, and honestly, it's even the same mentality here, is that it's service first, right? Service first in taking care of the patient and doing the right thing by the patient. And the result of that is, financial growth and money and all of the things that we want for our personal lives. But there's a lot of times where, and I think I've seen this more probably in the last 5 years than anything, it's like that kind of gets flipped, where it's like, how do I serve myself and then serve the patient? And I think that this is
Yeah.
where we're seeing a lot of problems right now in our profession.
Yeah, and I don't want to throw stones, but I feel like because I have interns from chiropractic school in my office, and I'm relatively closely related with Parker University, and man, just the zeal that we had for chiropractic, and the passion that we had for chiropractic when we got out. We didn't know what we were doing, maybe, but we learned and we figured that out. And now, like, the emotion has gone out of it, and it's like, hey, here's how you make money at this, and here's how you make a good living. And it's like, I just think it's backwards. I'll ask, case in point, it's one of my favorite things to ask any chiropractor, but particularly students, if there was a Mount Rushmore for chiropractic, what four faces would you put on there? And most of them can't name a name. One guy literally said, I'm not sure, but he said, there's a guy in my class that I think is really smart and going to do big things. I'm like, hey, class, someone in school, you're going to put on the Mount Rushmore of chiropractic? So it's like, I think that, that all of us need to take the time. Billy D always talks about getting dipped in what are you here for? Like, what is your purpose? We love money. Money's great, buys a lot of fun, but the only way that really comes and comes easy is when you're really focused on how am I going to have an impact? How am I going to really change some people's lives? And that comes from a chiropractic standpoint, becomes getting dipped in good chiropractic. Listen to the greats, listen to the guys that are come ahead of us, stand on their shoulders, and really kind of keep getting dipped. Because if you're not careful, then you get into all the metrics and the numbers and what's my ROI, and all those things are wildly important, but it has to be built on the foundation of why are you doing this? Like, what's the principle? So
Yeah. I mean, and this is the sort of conversations that I used to have with my associates at times, was that, we can have fun in practice, but we have fun by communicating what is super important. And you're absolutely right that, I think that one of the problems that we have, so like when I came out of school, like the group of docs that I came out of school with, we trained in a coaching system, within the amped model, that all of us were doing the same thing. And all
mhm.
of us went on to grow $1 million practices. So that was like normal. Right? That was
Mhm.
just like what we expected. And so like kind of laugh about it, but like we were a 6-figure a month practice, and I was like still out of my like group of 5 dudes that are closest with me, I'm like, I'm the least successful in practice out of all of them, right? But we just each had like our different sort of things and our different sort of ways of doing it. But like I think it's also who you surround yourself with. And like when you surround yourself with people like that, it makes a big difference in the sort of way that you grow in practice, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're similar story, that I've got a group of just absolute tigers that I'm friends with. But you'll have people that go, well, that's nice for you because you have all these guys. But before that, it's like I was friends with the people the cassette tapes that I was playing in my car. It's like Reggie didn't know me, but I knew him.
Yep. Yep.
Stickafoos didn't know me, but I knew him. And that was the important part. So I didn't have to have those guys as my friends that have a great influence in my life. Whether that's Dan Yachter or Viscarelli or any of the guys that are still in the trenches that are doing it, it's like you just need that. You need that constant inflow of positivity that's coming in. And that's the other thing I wanted to hit on, that we have our core values that we've recently done for Genesis, and one of them is be passionate and positive. So you have a lot of people they're passionate, they're fiery, but when it comes down to being positive, it's like, not to get metaphysical, but what you think about, you bring about. And if you come at things at least with a positive attitude, it doesn't have to be, oblivious, but a positive attitude makes an incredible difference. And that's the thing I'll brag on, is what makes Genesis so awesome are the people that we partner with. So they're all doctors that are 6, 8, 10 years in practice. They're all running $1 million practice. None of them are looking for ways to pay the bills or make ends meet. They're just like, hey, now I can see a level that I can serve higher, do it easier, buy a little freedom. And so those are the guys that, we're lucky to partner with, because they are passionate and they're positive people.
And I think that this is one of the things that I kind of look at that has happened, and this kind of goes to what you're saying, is like we need to focus on that, right? Like there's too many people, I think, that at times like I'm look, I said I'm the vice president of the Straight Chiropractic Association here in Illinois. But yet I realize that there are going to be people who do other things outside of straight chiropractic. And whether or not that's what I'm going to do or what you're going to do or what whoever, like my job is to make sure that chiropractors, we protect subluxation and we do the things that are necessary in order to make sure that as many people are under chiropractic care as possible. And then I take that lens off and now I look at it and say, okay, from the general market's perspective, what do they know about chiropractic? And very bluntly, nobody knows what chiropractic is. I mean, we've got under 10% utilization of chiropractic care in the United States. And it's everyone wants to say, well, we got to educate, educate, educate. It's not, right? Education is important. That's how you get them to start care.
Mm-hmm.
But we have got to do a better job of marketing chiropractic. And I think that I was talking with my team the other day, and I mean, I got green books on my shelves too, right? And the thing that I talk about all the time with my team is that I'll talk with them about BJ. I'll talk about with them with about Dee. And I tell people all the time, BJ wasn't BJ because he was an amazing chiropractor or because he was so philosophically oriented. He was amazing because he was one of the best marketers of all time. So when we talk about marketing, I would put BJ on my Mount Rushmore of marketers across the board. He just happened to philosophically be aligned with the things that we do in this profession. And if more practices thought about it that way, we would be making more impact and more of a dent in our communities than we currently are.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Some of the most intelligent people that I know, far smarter than me, great clinicians, great technicians, amazing adjusters, are sitting in empty offices, and then it's like, if you're going to have an impact, not everybody has to do high volume. So I'm not saying that's for everyone, but it's like you need to do some volume. Like you need to have new people in front of you on a regular basis that you have an ability to impact, and not just that, but to disciple or to weaponize, that they're actually going to go out and they're going to tell other people because they understand. You're not just building a symptom driven practice, but they're like, wow, I'm learning things, and they can't shut up about it. So then they become your marketers as well, and then that continues to change people. We had a guy show up at Genesis office this week. He's an attorney, and he said, I know I need to be here. He said, I had scheduled an appointment, but I had canceled it because I was busy. And he said, my back got so bad that on a Sunday night, he called an ambulance to take him to the hospital. He's got a bad herniated disc. And he said, I'm in the ambulance, and the EMT that's riding back there with me and checking my vitals and all that, he said, I told him that I had a herniated disc, and the EMT says, you got to go to Genesis. Like, you've got to go to Genesis. Like, they saved me. And it's like, there's some EMT riding around in an ambulance marketing for us, not because we're giving him a referral fee or he gets a free massage. It's like, because we told him the truth and we had an impact in his life. Well, he's going to, he's not telling people because he's incentivized. He's telling people because it's true. Those are fun things.
They are. But it all goes back to, if we don't tell people what we do, if we don't speak the language of what they're doing, it goes back to what you said. Like, we have to meet people where they're at to be able to get them into our practices.
A lot of times we want to meet them where they're at, and it's like, oh, well, they only want to do what their insurance covers, or they only want to come once a month, or when they hurt. And it's okay to meet them where they're at, but be confident enough to lead them through Socratic questioning or education to lead them to what they really want. Right. If we could all go into any doctor's office and say, here's what I want, but it's not necessarily what you need. Right. And so we need to have the stones to be able to tell people, hey, this is what's really going to have an impact, right, wrong, or otherwise. Love me or hate me. And people in a day and age where everyone's really terrified to tell the truth, or terrified to maybe offend somebody, it's like people are wildly attracted to that. When they see somebody that has some authenticity and that are willing to tell them the truth, people are attracted to that in my experience. So.
And the nice part is when you get to the point where you're doing that, you can totally disconnect from the outcome. Because at the end of the day, they need you significantly more than you need them. And if the mindset is like that, that's where success happens.
That's nail on the head, because we get the chance. We listen to so many consults. Chad and I are constantly listening to consults and seeing where we can offer some advice. Some people, when they get started, you can feel the neediness there. You can feel them wanting to close the patient. it's like at the end of the day, the patient can't quantify what the feeling was, but if the patient feels like you want them or need them more than they want or need you, that's when they're like, yeah, they just repel back. They're not sure what it is. And
Yep.
so, it's like you gotta tell them the truth. And it's like I told the lady the other day, she's like, well, what if I don't do this? I was like, my back doesn't hurt. Like I'm not on your couch, you're on mine. Like I'm just telling you how I can help.
Yeah.
Option one.
And there's so much power in that. And this is the way that I would train the associates in my practice was like, we're going to tell them the truth, and we don't need to be their friend. We're not their friend. They're coming to us for advice. Be the doctor. Like that's our job. Tell them the truth, communicate it in a way that they can understand it, and then release the outcome, because when you release the outcome becomes what you want it to be. I'm curious now I want to dive into some of the marketing sort of questions that I've got for you. So what are the primary methods that you guys are using, to market for the practices that you guys work with?
So originally, I've been a marketing junkie for a long time too. So when I opened my practice, I've done door to door, I've done direct mail, I've read every Dan Kennedy book he ever wrote. I've done lunch and learns and teacher massage and dinner talks and corporate events and spinal screenings and killer ads and billboards, radio, TV, like all the stuff. Most people watching this have probably done most of those things too, if you've been at it very long.
Killer ads, I did like my first 3 months in practice, and it worked great. And then as newspaper went,
yeah, when we started with that killer ad, man, it was like, whoa, this is cool. And it didn't last a long time, but it was cool. Now with Genesis, because as far as from a chiropractic standpoint, we really feel like if you have a spine and a pulse, you're a potential patient. Like regardless of age, sex, color, background, like spine and a pulse, that's all your only qualifications. Well, with Genesis, we're not looking for general back pain. We're not trying to sign chiropractic patients up to do decompression. We're really, really strict about that. We operate with high integrity. We're looking for patients that have bulging, herniated, degenerative disc. Those are the only three things we treat. And so with that, we really have to kind of sift through. So our marketing is really designed to attract patients that have been pre-diagnosed. They have an MRI, they've tried an ESI, they've tried chiropractic and PT and all the stuff. So right now we do exclusively digital marketing. We do Meta, in terms of social media, Facebook, Instagram, some TikTok, that sort of stuff. And then we do Google. So we do Google ads, SEO, web, that sort of stuff. But right now we're exclusively digital. So our partners, we're not saying, hey, you need to hit up a couple of spinal screenings this weekend, go stand at the booth. We're generating them all digitally.
And I love this conversation because I get this from people all the time that say Facebook ads or Google ads don't work. I want your take.
Well, I could say something crass, but we have 86 offices that are doing an average of, I think 46 or 48,000. Chad's the numbers guy. You get to $48,000 a month. We've got an office that did 157,000 last month, cash only, decompression only, just off of Google and Facebook. And so now I'm a big Gary V fan. Vaynerchuk will tell you that what works now is not going to work forever. Like, we're looking at AI and we've incorporated a lot of AI stuff. So, Facebook's we're not doing MySpace anymore, right? So Facebook may not be here forever, but it is the juggernaut right now, as far as I'm concerned, because particularly our demographic of patients are still there. We're not looking to sell skateboards or anything like that. We're looking for people that, are my age or older, and right, wrong, or otherwise, I still have Facebook. That's not my favorite platform, but I'm on it every day. So yeah, Facebook, Instagram, obviously still owned by Meta, but the people that are migrating to Instagram. And then obviously TikTok is, it's its own thing in terms of what we're trying to figure out there. But if not Facebook, it's something else, but it's going to be digital.
And I think that this is the thing that the consistent conversation that I have is that if that's where people are hanging out, right? If that's the town square, so to speak, nowadays, we need to be in the town square, right? And I go back to it, especially for philosophical based chiropractors, I can get it to click with them to be able to say, where would BJ be? If he were alive today, what would he be doing? Because when he was alive in, the 20s, 30s, he's pumping out chiropractic, he was doing newspaper, which was the medium, He was doing radio. Like
Hmm.
that's what he did because those were the things where people were. That's what people tuned in to listen to after dinner at night. And so that's where we need to be, but we need to be louder than we are. And chiropractors are not loud enough in what they're doing to be able to say. And I think that it's because we don't well, it's kind of the what is it? Parkinson's law, right? You'll fill the time that's allotted if you don't make time for the things that are important. And so it's like if you're not making time to market, and this could be an hour a week, right?
Yeah.
To be able to record content or do whatever you need to do. All it takes is
Well,
an
and
hour.
this is me throwing stones, but throwing stones at me as much as anybody. But my kids, I've got four kids, and I've got a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old. They have phones. The other two don't have phones. But man, do they love to look at an iPad or a phone and watch YouTube or whatever? And I'm constantly telling them, Braddocks are creators, not consumers. We're creators, not consumers. And then even for me, it's like chiropractors say, "Well, I don't want to be on Facebook. I don't want to advertise on Facebook." It's like, how many hours a day do you spend on Facebook? You know what I mean? So it's like, if we're going to be on Facebook, we might as well be on Facebook, not scrolling Facebook like one of our patients. And so being able to take the time that we're doom scrolling or doing other things to be like, hey, what could I create on here? Or, I also like to watch a lot of social media and see stuff for inspiration. And so then it's like I'm screenshotting or I'm writing down notes, and it's like making sure that you're diligent about going back and saying, hey, I saw a video, it gave me an idea. Let's do this, let's do that. So, and I'm like I said, I'm in a smaller town, and we got started with video early. So if you go back and watch some of my early videos, they're really bad. Like they're just cringy bad. But we did it because I was into marketing, and the people were like, this is where it's all going video. It's all going video. I'd taken copywriting courses. I'm a good copywriter, but people were tired of reading and they want video. And so we started that early enough that people are like, oh, well, you're just natural on video. No, I'm terrible on video. If you see a good video of me, I've probably had 30 takes where I messed it up. I'm just willing to keep reshooting it until I get one that's like, okay, that'll work. And then you put in the reps and you get more comfortable. And so you have to be on video, and you have to be putting that stuff out. We've got several videos that have gotten 6, 7, 800,000 views on them in our little area. Like I can't go into a gas station or barbecue joint without people going, oh, I know you. I know you. Oh, you're the chiropractor. And that's a good thing. Whatever. And then I'll have people that'll show up here. We've been in this office for 20 years. I have people that'll go, oh, man, I had no idea you were here. I didn't even know we had a chiropractor. I'm like, how long you lived here? 7 years. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Like, how did you not know about this office in this little town, but all the marketing I do? So it's like there's still people out there we're not reaching.
And that is it, right? And it goes back to your we would love for that funnel to be a cylinder, but the reality
Yeah.
is it does this. So
Mhm.
I think that this is just a great, I mean, it's a great point because I mean, because one of the things that we've seen, especially in the recent, probably last 6 months is with Facebook is that things have really changed. Where before, the way that we ran ads, it was very much based on, all right, here's our targeting, here's our ad copy, here's our creative. Those have flipped where it is now creative is being used to target, copy, and then we're looking at targeting because the algorithm has changed so much. And because of those changes, that creative has become such an impact point. People who put time, effort, energy into this, it's funny. We just had a chiropractor that started with us in Florida, and I won't say who it is, but she's really good on camera. I was texting with her yesterday, so we just turned her ads live on Monday. She's had 68 leads, 20 booked appointments within like 48 hours.
Wow.
She's like, I got to figure out a couple things in the system side of making sure that I'm like, well, let me know, when do you want to get on a call? She's like, I have too many new patients right now. She's like, I've got time next Tuesday. Let's do it then. And I'm like, cool, let's jump on. Because it's like, when you are able to do those sort of things, it's like, that's where we want to get you. And, create good problems so we can then stress test our systems to then improve our systems and keep scaling and growing. But sometimes everybody wants to have the things in place before they start doing that. And it never works that way. You are going
No,
to,
sometimes it's ready, fire, aim.
yes. Yep.
Sometimes it's ready, fire, aim. And I think that, I think a lot of chiropractors are entrepreneurs at heart. And that's how we learn. You just start going, is move forward, like always be moving forward. And you'll find where you fail and get coaching, get mentorship, get help, learn from mistakes, and then just keep moving forward.
I love it. I love it. Well, Doc, I've got my last question that I ask every guest at the end of these calls, which is obviously you figured a lot of things out here in life. You've got a couple, successful practice. We talked a little bit about your family. You guys are very in balance, and you've got the second great business. So you've figured out a lot of things that other people haven't figured out. But every person has something that they're working on that they haven't quite figured out yet. What is that thing for you?
I love that you asked that question, because I had a mastermind call on yesterday, and that was a question that was posed. And for me right now, it's organization. So like I was telling my coach, I'm a consummate accomplisher. So if I had my notebook, I would show you, but I start every day with a paper notebook, and it's just full of tasks. And I'm really good at getting through all those tasks to get to the next day. But when you look at it, I'll have tasks that could be wildly important, pivotal to the business. And the next one may be buy new trash bags. And the next one may be make this video. And so as we scale and as we grow and being pulled in different directions, I'm working on learning how to become more organized and hyper-focused and individual spokes of the wheel, rather than just running around the wheel. So I know at a certain point, I won't be able to just accomplish everything on the list. Now we built an incredible team. We've got a really, really great team, but I think just more organization, like the more organized I am, the better. And so I've worked through calendars and various different things, but I still think I've got a lot of room to improve there.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Doc, if somebody wants to reach out to you, if they're interested in what we talked about here, they're interested in, potentially adding, a Genesis neck and back location in their practice, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, well, the easiest thing is my cell phone, 3-821-6325. I'm a great texter, but you can find me even if you not interested in Genesis. I like being, like you and I had this conversation earlier, I love being connected to chiropractors in any shape, form, or fashion. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Don't go to my business stuff, just find Caleb Braddock and be my friend. I'd love to be able to connect that way. You can obviously message me through that. And then if you're super interested in Genesis, you can go to genesisback.com/join. And then you can put something in there. We can set up a phone call and chat. So if you want to find me, I'm on the internet. It's relatively easy. Or message Kendall. He'll give you my phone number. So
there you go. Well, Doc, thank you so much for being on today. And for all of you guys out there listening, thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks. God bless.
If you enjoyed this episode of Table Talk, a chiropractic podcast, make sure that you subscribe and check out the links below to our free Facebook group with chiropractic marketing secrets, our free resource guides, and the links to all of the guests that we have here on the show and ways to be able to connect with them. Thanks and God bless.